Welcome to the first episode of Sip&Say. This episode is about family medical history and sharing. Also, a health journey to make ourselves healthier and happier. Thanks for tuning in. You have any family members with this, that, or the other? I remember one time I went to the doctor and the doctor was going over this whole checklist asking about questions about your family medical history. And she says, has anybody in your family ever been diagnosed as bipolar? I just looked at her and I laughed. I just laughed. I thought that was so funny. And I said to the doctor, I said, aren't we all?
I bet she was cracking up.
Because what is bipolar, right?
Right. I get it. I get it. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
I
You're
just
right
thought it was
because
funny.
because with today's, life today, especially when you're adulting, your emotions can be all over the place. You go through ups and then there are those downs and you try to make it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and on top of that, they asked for cancer screenings. They asked about cancer and a whole
mhm,
list of
mhm.
things as far as family history. And I was honest with my doctor one time when we were going over this whole checklist, and it's like, honestly, we're not sitting around talking about our medical issues or problems that anyone's had. Nobody's discussing this, so I don't
Right.
know. But I do think it's important, especially like now, just
Mhm.
finding out certain things. I think that it is important for family to share for those purposes. It's nothing to, for gossipers and people who just like to talk. But I think it's necessary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, yeah, there's okay at the gathering for Thanksgiving, when we come together, which is rare or, few and far in between rather. Um,
Here's
and
some.
the older we get, I think we tend to talk about, more mature things. Um, and family medical history was one of the conversations, as you stated. And there's cancer, there's diabetes, the different types of cancers.
Yeah.
Um, growing up as a child, I could remember um, the only issues that was a concern was my grandfather's siblings. I'm familiar with two that actually passed from cancer, and then he turned around and passed away from prostate cancer. Um, and then at the Thanksgiving gathering, I mentioned, two aunts who um,
Yeah.
had, you know, breast cancer. And I think a few of you guys knew about at least one, but
One
not the
of them. Yeah.
yeah. And it was like, and then you go to the doctor and like you stated earlier, they ask these questions and my response is two aunts. And I also had, and of course they want to know that information, but they're looking more so, at the immediate family members
Yeah.
now for some reason. And, you know, I have four siblings and two have had the same issue. I only knew of one. So I answered accordingly.
Yeah.
But I do not understand why that information is not shared because it's pertinent to, the doctor, going to the doctor, because
It
they're going to
is.
ask.
And
They ask them.
it's pertinent to all of our health because, it's certain things are hereditary and runs down the family bloodline. So it's just pertinent in that way so everybody can know what to look out for and just be conscious of things, of those
Right.
things. Like whenever they ask me about cancer, breast cancer, I knew of one aunt that had it, so of course I stated her. My my paternal my paternal grandmother, breast cancer, I know of that. I think that was pretty much it as far as cancer goes, and that was the information that I had to share on that. But also, recently, well, years ago, I did a DNA ancestry, and I only did the DNA part. I didn't do the health portion of it. And recently, within the past couple of months, I paid for the health assessment part of it because they had it on sale, and I love a good sale. And they test certain strands of whatever for breast cancer. I know I heard it referred to as like BRCA1, BRCA2 for BRCA, breast cancer, BRCA1 and 2. But I think they test like three certain specific genes or whatever you want to call it for that. And it said that I did not carry the genes for that BRCA1, BRCA2 that they test. And I think that's even good information to have, and I can share with my doctors whenever I go back for my breast exam, which I'm going next month, actually, just to put it on there. But I also recently realized that you can not have the gene, but that doesn't mean you're not susceptible to getting the cancer or a form of it. You know what I mean? Because there's, like you said, there's different types and all of that. So we talked about
Can you hear me?
I did hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the one reality show we watch, I guess we can say her name, Kimmy, on Love and Marriage Huntsville. And she found out she had triple negative breast cancer. And I'm like, what is that? So I had to hurry up and go to Google to try to figure out what it is. But also in another episode, she said she took the Ancestry health assessment and it said that she didn't have the gene for breast cancer or the specific type that they test for anyway. So that's why I say, and they even tell you like it's not a diagnosis, it just check for certain things, and you should still always do your due diligence.
Right.
For that.
So you said she did the ancestry thing,
Yeah.
and it wasn't predisposed to that, and she still ended up diagnosed anyway.
Well, they test they don't test every type of your, it's just certain parts that they test for the ancestry health portion of it. I'm trying to pull mine up now. So whatever it is, she said that they said she didn't carry that gene, which is probably the same test that I took, the BRCA1, BRCA2, or the same that they tested for me. But it does tell you, it says health predisposition includes both reports that meet FDA requirements for genetic health risk and reports powered by, whoever I took my ancestry with. So the BRCA1 and 2 select variants. It says for me, variants not detected, but it says specific genetic variants in the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes are associated with an increased risk of developing certain cancers including breast cancer in women and men, and ovarian cancer. These variants may also be associated with an increased risk for prostate cancer and certain other cancers. The test includes three genetic variants, the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes that are most common, but it says they're most common in Ashkenazi Jewish descent.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's most common in. But however, more than 1,000 variants in the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes are known to increase cancer risk. So you could still have a variant not included in this test. And for me, variants detected was 0. And that's just, you know, in the genes that they test and look for. And it's a lot. It's 1,000 variants. And so they don't test for the 1,000.
Right. And they just add that latter part in there just to cover themselves, you know.
Yeah. It says it's important to continue with your cancer screenings your healthcare provider recommends. So it's not a diagnosis or telling you that you have 0 variants, so you don't have to worry about breast cancer. You still need to do what you would normally do. And I just like this just because it's informational, you know,
Right.
and you can take it and do with it what you want. Like share it with your doctor. If you have questions, you can talk to your doctor about it.
Yeah, I've participated in some of those surveys or questionnaires, but not all of them.
Yeah.
Because in the back of my mind, you know, I'm thinking like, wow, you know, how much information do they want to know about you? So I try to keep, you know, certain things to myself when it comes to those surveys. But
Yeah.
nice to know that. And I also found out some stuff from two uh, family members that, you know, I didn't know about. I don't know if, and you know, going through life, you're just not going to share certain information. But it would be nice to know certain things so that way, you know, at least for me, when I go to the doctor, I'm able to answer that question correctly. Because when I told, this was years ago, when I told the doctor that, you know, there's a presence of cancer throughout the family, there's, whether it be prostate or breast cancer, and she made she came to the conclusion that I should have a certain that I should have she suggested a hysterectomy because of the predisposition to cancer family, and you know, and some other stuff that was going on with the fibroids and stuff like that. And I just found out recently um, that certain cancer, fibroids, um, being told that you need a hysterectomy, uh, some other stuff that was on the list where, and this all comes from using products on your hair, such as perms.
Oh yeah, relaxers and that.
Perms and stuff. And when you say, you know, it's genetic, or even the doctor says genetic, from the research I've done, you know, even since having my grandson who is type 1 diabetic, I've learned that it's not what they're calling genetics is, for me, the way I see it is, if you live in the same household and you eat the same foods and you use the same products, for me, that's genetics. You know, that's running in the family. Because you and it can be changed. Whatever that predisposition is, it can be changed if you change your diet, if you change the items that you use, such as deodorant, you know, using a deodorant that doesn't have, you know, all these aluminums and
Oh yeah.
and all it takes is change. So that's what genetics genetically for me means, running in the family.
Yeah, and I hate that too, because we hear a lot that African Americans is more susceptible to basically everything than any other race. And it's like, why? We're all human and we all basically eat the same things. Maybe they can't fry their chicken as good as us, but they still eat chicken. You know, I'm just saying. They want to say it's the diet, it's the way you guys eat and all this and that. Like,
But
I
see,
don't
the thing,
think our eating is that different.
well, the history of it. You have to look. Everything has a beginning.
Well, of course, where it started, but we're all human. We all get cut. We're gonna bleed red. I'm not gonna bleed black. They're not gonna bleed white or orange or pink or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I just hate that everything Black women or Black people are more susceptible to it. And I remember asking a Black doctor once, like, why is that? And she was just like, everybody is the same and blah, 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 blah. She's like not buying it either. I mean, I guess I get it. I understand the history of it, but still, we all ain't eating like how it started. Or we all, maybe we grew up that way, but as adults, you change the way you do things and it still hasn't made anything better or different for you.
So, and I totally understand what you're saying. Um, and you made me think about this. Instead of, I was at my mom's house for Thanksgiving, and I asked her if she had some reluctantly vegetable oil, because I've changed my diet to where it's just certain stuff I will not use when I'm cooking, or will not eat altogether.
Yeah.
Or if I don't have what I use, I'm reluctantly willing to use a substitute. So, and that substitute was vegetable oil. And she said, "Yeah, just look down here." She opens up the cabinet. I see these cans of lard in the cabinet. So I had to laugh, and because, granted, it was what she cooked for us growing up, or cooked with, when we were growing up. But what you made me think about in that statement is, you know, some of us has gone from using lard to, or shortening to using butter, from butter to vegetable oil, from vegetable oil to olive oil, or canola oil is just totally not good for you, period. And all it takes is, when you're shopping, turn the product around and read the label,
Yeah. Yeah.
ingredient. And I promise you, if you,
And that can take some time too. Was it
but
last year?
if it's this
The
long,
longer the list, the worse it is for you.
exactly.
I've
Work,
learned that.
don't,
Last year, I worked with nutritionists for a year, from December 2021, no, December 2020 to December 21. I worked with nutritionists, and they were suggesting that also, like, just go, when you go shop and read the labels, the less ingredients it has, the better it is for you. Because I'm like, read the labels, I'll be standing there all night. I'll never get out of the grocery store. And then the
well,
print is all tiny and I have to be there with my magnifying glass. They said, now, if the list is this long, you put it back. Yeah.
oh my God, some of those ingredients. And since I've been on my uh, and I hate labels. I do not do labels.
Right.
I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not vegan. I'm not a pescatarian. I'm not a Methodist. I'm not a
None of
Pentecostal.
that.
None of. So I'm eating more vegetables, more fruit, and and less meat. I don't eat red meat. I don't eat poultry. I don't eat uh, pork. I'm basically not so much strictly salmon. I will eat shrimp every now and then, but I'm finding myself getting away from shrimp too. Um, so what I'm doing since I've been on my better eating journey, I'm looking at the vegetables, for instance. I've learned that in farming, there are zones, and the higher the zone number, which is that barcode that's on the fruit, and if it's 4 or higher, then it's good. But if it's 4 or less, it's at that lower zone of the farm where they're using more pesticides and chemicals.
Oh, that's good information to know.
Yeah, and if you that says that if whichever zone that fruit or vegetable grew up in, you could get on the lower end more chemicals, i.e. pesticides. On the higher end, it tends to be closer to organic. So that's what I'm watching for now on my fruits and vegetables. I actually put, oh my goodness, I walked in the store, and the closer I got to the strawberries, you could smell that sweet aroma from strawberries.
Yeah.
And I went to pick it up, and the container was probably about this big. And I was like, oh my God. And they weren't big at all. They were probably, natural, normal size.
Yeah.
As the big means strawberries bigger than the palm of your hand, blueberries about the size of your eyeball.
Right.
It's water weight. They sell it for water weight to get more money from it. They make more money from the water weight blueberries than they do the normal size blueberries.
Yeah.
So that's what I look out for. And I didn't start, although I went cold turkey, on meats. It took me some time to get to that point.
Oh yeah.
And my daughter sent me a video, although it had always been in the back of my mind. Her dad, he used to work at a meat processing company, and he would come home with stories.
Yeah, no, I can just imagine.
It took that one night that she said, Mom, there's 2 videos, especially one I want you to see and I want you to watch. And as soon as I found the time to watch it, the video, that was it.
Yeah. So I had went at one point, I stopped eating meat, and I didn't eat meat for like 6 months. And during that process for me, I just felt like I wasn't eating enough. Like sometimes I would just not eat or whatever. I might have a snack or something or whatever, but I just didn't feel like I was eating enough. And so I had been giving up pork. I had been giving up beef. So I generally eat chicken or ground turkey or poultry. And every now and then I might have fish. And I hate the question, like probably a week ago, I was at somebody's house and they had spaghetti and it looked so good. They had spaghetti, baked chicken, blah, blah, blah. They had the meat in the spaghetti. I was like, you have beef in your spaghetti, right? Well, yeah, it's beef, blah, blah, blah. You can have some. No, thanks, I don't eat beef. And they want to know, well, why? I don't eat beef or pork. Why? Why not? Blah, blah, blah. Because I choose not to. That's why. And I think that's a good enough answer. Like, it's not for any religious reason. It's not for any reason other than I just chose not to eat it. And for this person, it was almost like my choosing not to eat red meat or pork that's not a good enough reason. And I ain't never did this, da da da. I ain't pushing nothing off on you. I'm just saying this is what I choose to do or not do for myself. So, you know, we ain't got to go into no battle about it. You enjoy beef, eat it. I'm not judging you, but don't judge me because I choose not to eat it either.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but that's good information to know about the zone 4 and up to, you know, have a better fruit or vegetable.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
Because
love my fruits and vegetables. I do eat those all the time too.
absolutely. I'm seeing the time. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, 9 minutes.
Hi,
It
girl. Oh, we
did.
start.
Yeah, 9 minutes.
So yeah, it's like my oldest granddaughter was here a few months back, and she asked me. She said, "Granny, you know, same question. Why don't you eat meat?" I said, "It's just that whole industrialized, you know, processing, you know, get it out to the market way, you know, hook or crook, don't care if there's a boil on the leg, you know,
Right, right.
down, they still sell it. Now you got an outbreak of something, somebody gets sick, somebody dying. It's just, and I used to look at or hear um, animal lovers, as they call them, you know, and now I sympathize with how they feel about, because we don't need meat to live. We don't need meat to survive. And yeah, and she said, you know, Granny, I really appreciate you for that, because I was cooking and I still cook meat because my husband eats meat.
Right.
You know, my son eats meat, and they were here, they eat meat. And she said, I really appreciate you because you're not pushing it off on us because you're not eating meat. I said, no, ma'am.
Right.
This
Right.
is my, you know, it doesn't have to be anyone else's because they're here. I'm
Right.
not off of my husband because I stopped eating meat, although she stopped eating meat. Information. And you know, and I can tell, even when the thing about it is, even when I smell it, you know, somebody else is cooking it, I've said in the presence of other people, oh, that smells so good, that bacon smells so good, that chicken smells so good, because it was the way that it was being cooked. And the first question that they asked me, well, I thought you said you don't eat meat. I don't, but it still smells good.
Right.
And it's in that process that it smells good. But if I have to cook it because I wasn't there while it was being washed and, you know, taken out of the packet, and that's for me, when I'm doing that process myself and I'm cooking, I have to take the meat out of the packet and I rinse it off, and the early stages of cooking, that scent, you know, now that I've detoxed myself from meat, it bothers my stomach, but I still have to.
I think, well, pork, like I don't like the smell of pork. I just don't. It stinks to me. Beef, I can stomach the smell of beef, I guess, but I'm not around it, you know, a lot either. So at home, I just cook what I cook, and it doesn't have beef or pork. But you know what? I find funny too. Two things I just wanted to say. How if you tell people you don't eat, like people know I don't eat pork or whatever. And so one day there was happened to be a discussion in my presence about pork, and they were talking about marshmallows, like, you know, there's pork in marshmallows, you know, and they're looking over here at me. Look, I'm not a person that's like, ew, I don't want that around me. Like, I don't want that to touch me or anything like that, right? It's a lot of stuff and a lot of things that you eat that you don't know about, that you're unaware of. But if I know that if you put a pork chop in front of me, I'm not going to eat it. So don't try to, people have a way of trying to just make you, you know, look a certain way because you don't do a certain thing, or, and stuff like that. And it's just like, get a life. Like, get a life. And another thing about farming or the veggies or whatever, I'm not a farmer. Don't want to be. It's a lot of work. But when I a couple of years ago, I had gotten into trying to grow my own vegetables or whatever in my yard. In the first year, I was so excited about it, and I loved it, seeing the vegetables or whatever grow just from a seed, you know. And I did zucchinis, I did cucumbers, I did what else? Bell peppers and stuff like that. And it was just like so awesome just to see this stuff come to fruition. And it was just a seed, you know. Last year I did, was it last year or this year? I did watermelon, and I actually got a little small sweet baby watermelon. And I was just like so excited. I'm excited for next year because I'm gonna try to do the watermelon again. But the first year when I did it, and I grew zucchini, and one of them grew so big because I was like, now if I would have saw this in a store, I'm like, what did they inject this thing with? Because I know what I put in mine, and it's nothing. I just plant um and water it and just watch it grow. I don't use no fertilizer and all this, that, and the other stuff. So it was amazing to see how big this thing had grown. And I'm like, if I would have saw this in a store, I would have left it. There's no way I would have bought it because like, what steroids are they using for this, you know? But I know I didn't use any of that. So I know it can grow.
So how long did you allow it to sit?
Oh, probably longer than I should have. But the thing about that too is because with zucchini and the cucumbers, like it's so leafy. You have so many leaves and it just covers stuff. So sometimes the vegetables or the fruit, they're hidden. So you have to move this and that. And it's like, oh, it's one over there. Oh, there's something over there. And so yeah, that one probably I probably let it sit longer than I should have. And it was the only one I allowed to grow like that because it gets bitter too if you let it, you know. Yeah, and then it also takes away from the growth of the other stuff, them getting the nutrients that they need from the branches and whatnot. So, but yeah, I love growing and trying to grow my own vegetables too because I know what's in it, and it's just something to be proud of, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, eat something that you've grown yourself.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
I want to get better at it.
So I noticed when we were there that here the dirt is more clay-like in some areas.
Oh yeah.
And being back in Chicago, what I noticed was the soil there. And the soil there in Chicago looks so much more richer than the soil here. And I would think that that would be the opposite, but that's to me from what I've seen.
Yeah.
It's a lot richer there in Chicago, and even the grass is still green there, versus
Yeah.
here, grass is brown, and you look outside, and sometimes it just looks so yellow or orange outside to me. But my go-to favorite is a bowl of and everything. I try to get everything with seeds in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, grapes, cantaloupe, pineapples. Not so much pineapples, but every now and then, grapes, cantaloupe, bananas, uh, melon, the honeydew melon,
Oh yeah, I like honeydew.
strawberries, and blueberries. And I also buy one bunch of collard greens, and I chop them up into strings and put them in the bowl and just eat that. And I always get the question.
I was just gonna say I put mine in a blender and make a smoothie.
No,
And I
I mean I do smoothies
spinach
too.
instead of collards.
It's just a bowl.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to Sip and Say. We hope you enjoyed this first episode. Sip happens. We'll only get better with time. In the meantime, please subscribe, like, share, and definitely comment. Oh, and hit that notification bell to be notified when we drop the next episode.